I'm going to read two parts from Dogs Playing Poker and a third part that didn't appear in the issue. Very different types. There were sections. Secret art. Cash Coolidge was known for his sharp-edged realism when he was a sign painter, so he set out to create his vision with the same technique. He produced the collie and the boxer and the shepherd and the others sitting in comfortable leather chairs around the circular gaming table. The triangular green-shaded light hung from the ceiling in the center of the painting. On the wall behind the players were paintings. The leather-bound books on the shelves peeked through the curtain drawn apart. A cigar was stuck in the paw of one pooch with a pince-nez. The collie, his fluffy beard-like chest streaming down, stood behind the players, holding his own cigar. The bulldog looked distressed at the bad hand he had thrown down on the table. People laughed, bemused, and he was pleased, yet he found the canines deeply moving, not just amusing. They were so much easier to love than humans. It was so much easier to pity their deluded lives as they sat around the card table with manly bearing. Coolidge went on to paint scenes of more dogs playing cards. Dog cops busting illegal gambling, commuter canines playing cards while riding the train, excursion dogs fixing a flat tire on a Model T, dogs playing pool, dogs at a ballpark cheering other dogs playing baseball. People loved the dogs on cigar boxes and tins and on advertising posters, and they were sold as prints, thousands upon thousands. Children grew up staring at the drooping eyes of some canine playing poker, and they learned whatever wisdom they could find in those eyes. There were other paintings, private works that he hid away. Dogs in Congress in stentorian poses, a German shepherd with spectacles delivering a sermon from the pulpit, the pews filled with a grand array of breeds, dignified dogs reading the stock ticker in the padded environs of a men's club, a boxer doctor with a mirror on his head putting a stethoscope to the heart of a poodle, Irish setters at a boozy wake. A Saint Bernard reaches out with his paw to a cocker spaniel from a cloud like God touching man on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. But he knew the world was not ready for all the dogs of his imagination. When he died in 1934 at the age of 90, his one daughter and other survivors could not find any of these paintings, and they assumed he had destroyed them all. Phenomenology of folly. Life is not self in itself, so it must be self of itself, or the soul of not being other than through the mirror image of my other, who I will wrestle to the floor, ground his jaw into the dirt, and beat to a pulp, then make him my slave. It's a life and death struggle, but only by meeting the big death do I realize that I, in fact, realize something, even if it's pretty much a big nothing. Always I thought, as the song goes, I'm depraved because I'm deprived. Now I understand that I'm depraved because I'm alive. You have to lose yourself before you can find someone else who looks back in the mirror, even if it's you in the first place. As soon as you think something's true, then it's not. But since I'm conscious of myself as a distinct moment, then appearances is no different than desire. As the saying goes, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse right now. When I gather together all the differences, I make a unity of what distinguishes thing from self. Life is one simple, fluid substance, one pure movement in itself, and as such will unfold in the course of its experience. And the master-slave can be discarded for consciousness that is something other than itself, something kind of thingish, even if a pure nothing and a sure bit. I have looked for hours upon the painting of dogs playing poker, and I have come to understand that I am nothing but thingish for the trouble. Death has already made an appearance, and work is now on the agenda. You can be as thingish as you want, but you won't get very far if you keep to the pure being for self. So if Big Dead strikes fear into your bones, well, now you're onto something. But if you can hold your desire in check and work hard, it's possible you can recognize your own pure being for self without any kind of side effects. You can actually work off the hangover. That's why you should be happy with death. It's the only way to realize that fear makes freedom. That was my revenge upon Hegel. Legally dead. I crossed dark waters and crawled through dust and climbed over gray barriers. On the other side, I saw a silent world, bare ground, nothing growing, only grim spikes and murky crowds of people playing checkers or just staring into the dimness and scratching their heads. Suddenly, I was stopped by a man in a uniform, and he said, "Welcome to the land of the dead. Where are your papers?" "What do you mean? What papers?" "You need papers," the officer explained. His eyes turned to ash, and he put out his hand, wiggling his thin fingers for the documents. "What kind of papers? You need papers to be dead?" "You need a death certificate. Show me your death certificate." "But I don't have one," I replied. "Nobody allowed without papers," the official snapped. "But my ashes went up the concentration camp smokestack," I explained. "They hacked me to bits and threw me into the river. Wild animals tore me to pieces and gobbled me up. No one ever identified my body. The explosion vaporized me. I sank to the bottom of the sea. So where is your death certificate?" "How can I have a death certificate if I'm a nobody? How can I, if I've just been massacred by the Nazis and the gangsters of the sheriff's department and the remote-controlled predator drones, if I've been swallowed up by a black hole? You must have a death certificate to stay in the land of the dead," he insisted. "Otherwise, you are one of the illegal dead. And we do not accept illegals. And you must go." "But what do I do? How do I get this death certificate?" "You must go back to the land of the living. You must wait online and get your papers like everyone else. And if you don't, you can never come here. Go to the land of shit for all we care, but don't come back. We only take the dead who have been authorized and certified by all the right agencies." "But where do I go to get this damn death certificate? I mean, I may be illegal, but I'm not alive. I can't go back to the land of the living. Where do I go?" He put his ashy hand on my shoulder and said, "If you can't go to the land of the living, go at least to a place that will notarize that you are indeed legally dead." He looked into my eyes and said, with compassion, "Go to Arizona. My friend, the white state of Arizona will gladly kill you and stamp all the papers to make you legally dead, even if you aren't Mexican." Then I woke up in a sweat. What kind of screwball dream is this? I have to get papers to make me legally dead? Arizona? Of all places, I have to go to the white state of Arizona to get my papers for death? What a terrible dream. I vowed that morning that I would change the way I lived. I would do everything in my power to get rid of papers or certificates for anything and everything, to make sure that our bodies would be enough, that the air would not have a flag, the ocean would not have gates, and the soil would not have National Guards. Screw the borders. Screw all the papers. Screw the white state of Arizona. And when the grim time comes, I will crawl across the dark river and climb over the dim fences to sneak into the land of the dead. I will be dead without documents, illegal for all eternity. Let them try to catch me. Thank you.